My mum. Getting back to Wales was massive for me. Nothing was ever going to go wrong for me from that point on. You know, you'd have your blips in life, but getting back home was huge. But I eventually made it home. I remember lying in the hospital. Oh gosh, it must have been about 2 or 3 days after I'd arrived back, and they'd soaked the bandages and dressings off me, and I'd had a sleep, and eventually they moved a TV into the room and there was music being played. And I just remember after about 3 or 4 days that Wonderful World came on, and it just takes me all the way back to being a child.
I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow.
And in many ways I was reverted to being a child anyway, because I couldn't do anything for myself. Although I had an adult mind, I was pretty much in the body of a child because I couldn't even wipe my own backside. So, you know, I couldn't feed myself, I couldn't drink. I had to rely on others. So I was very much like being a child, and I suppose the music just fit perfectly at that point in time. I suppose a lot of it comes down to the love that you have in your family as well. And if it's one of the earliest songs you remember because of your family, then the love that's in that family comes back to you as well. And I was just very lucky to be enveloped with an awful lot of love the times that I remember hearing it. It seems crazy to say it, but it's always given me the hope that something better was around the corner. Something more fulfilling was there waiting for me. All I had to do was to get off my backside and go and seek it.
I'm Katie Melua. I'm a musician. I remember exactly where I was when I first heard Eva Cassidy singing. I was about 17 years old and I was travelling in a car with my mum, and it came on, and I just remember being completely mesmerised by it because it was unlike anything I'd ever heard. The idea came to record What a Wonderful World when I was contacted by the British Red Cross and asked to contribute a single towards raising awareness for their work in the UK. Well, the atmosphere on What a Wonderful World is just incredible because she seems to sing it in such a personal way, and she does seem to get to the core of you when you listen to her. I mean, obviously, because she wasn't there, it didn't feel like I was singing with her, and it was essential for me the spirit of the record stayed in its original form.
I see trees that are green, red roses too. I watch them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
I wanted her to start the song, and then, you know, I decided to do the second verse.
I see skies of blue, of white, bright, blessed days.
I remember being in the studio just feeling happy, but also, you know, for me there was a lot of concentration because I didn't want to, being a fan myself of Eva's, I didn't want to screw it up.
What a wonderful world.
I kind of felt like I'd been given a wonderful gift by her.
My name is Milan Bertosa, and I'm a recording engineer and producer in Honolulu, Hawaii. It was a weeknight in either late 1988 or early 1989. So I was finishing up a session like this, and it was 3 or 3:30 in the morning. I was wrapping up cables and putting up microphones, getting ready to go home and go to sleep, and the studio telephone rang. And it was a gentleman named Ken who was a client of our studios. And so Ken was on the phone. He said, "This is Ken, and I'm here at the club with Israel Kamakawiwo'ole." And at the time, I was very unfamiliar with Hawaiian artists. And I was, my response was, so? And he said, well, Israel wants to come and record a demo. I said, it's 3:30 in the morning, Ken, call me tomorrow. And he said, no, here, speak to Israel. And so he put Israel on the phone. And for what it's worth, Israel's voice embodied what aloha is. He was kind, he was very pleasant and polite, and he asked me very nicely, I've got these songs and I really want to put down a demo, and may I please come over? So my response was, sure, come on down. You've got 15 minutes to get here, and when you get here, you get a half hour, and then I'm going home. So 15 minutes later, at the door of the studio comes this just gigantic human being. Israel was probably at 450 to 500 pounds at the time, and he was carrying an ukulele. So my impression of him was a house carrying an ukulele. He was just, at that time, the largest human being I'd ever seen. I remember the studio floor tilting as he walked by me. And then the next challenge was finding a chair that he could sit on, because he was so huge. So I had to call building security and find a steel chair that was sturdy enough to hold him. And once we got that settled, Israel sat down. I put up a couple of microphones, got some levels, and it was amazing. It's a medley, so the Somewhere Over the Rainbow is about a better place. There's something more for me, or something more for all of us. And What a Wonderful World is an assessment of, well, things are actually pretty amazing and pretty good as they are. I don't know, the juxtaposition of those two things is interesting, because everybody's battle in life is trying to find something better and getting to a better place. But then sometimes you just need to look around and appreciate what you have, because it's not so bad after all.
And the dream that you did to, oh why can't well, I see trees of green and red roses too.
It had no destination at the time, because it wasn't an official studio project, it wasn't an official anything. It was an idea that a musician laid down, and there it was. And so it got put away and filed the tape in the studio library.
Well, I see skies of blue and I see clouds of white and the brightness of day. I like the dark and I think to myself, what a wonderful...
Iz continued to live on through that song, because he passed away, I believe, from something like congestive heart failure or excessive weight and his heart giving out. And from that point on, I think various people in television and film found the song and used it in films like Finding Forrester and Meet Joe Black.
I see friends shaking hands singing, how do you do?
It's just the spirit in which it's delivered. I think Israel had a way of shaping a song to fit him.
I hear babies cry.
There's a lot of love in it. There's a lot of joy in it.
They'll learn much more.
It's whatever he had at his disposal at that point in time, he put into playing and singing that song, and that makes it complete.
What a wonderful world.
The entire city of New Orleans is being evacuated as one of the most powerful hurricanes ever to threaten the United States bears down on it.
I'm Troy Trombone Shorty Andrews. I'm a professional musician from New Orleans, Louisiana. My first awareness of when something was happening with the hurricane was that I was playing with the Rebirth Brass Band, and we had played a street parade earlier that day, and later on that night we were supposed to play at Tipitina's. And we didn't have a chance to watch the news, but we knew that if Tipitina's, a local club here, canceled a show, that something serious was happening. So from that point on, we contacted some family members And we got everybody that wanted to leave, and we started to drive away from New Orleans because they say that this is supposed to be the big one, and sure enough, it was.
Everyone must leave. This is a mandatory evacuation order.
The fire trucks drive around the narrow streets of the historic New Orleans French Quarter. Everyone has been told to leave as soon as possible. Hurricane Katrina is on her way. The storm is now Category 5, one of the biggest hurricanes ever recorded, and the eye of the storm is heading straight for New Orleans.
I drove out to Dallas, Texas. It was the only place that had hotels that were still available. Only thing I had with me was my horns and the clothes that I had on my back. When I went back to my own house, it was just mold and mud and some water still left over. Everything was completely destroyed. I played a Wonderful World a million times, but now it has a different meaning to me. I was in Columbus, Ohio, and I was performing with the jazz orchestra there. At that particular point, they wanted me to play What a Wonderful World and dedicate it to the people of New Orleans. It was a tough feeling, you know. It was certain people that I might never see again, thinking about my grandmother walking through that water barrel and making it as like almost 80 years old, and you know, it was just an emotional thing. Like, I really don't like speaking about it. Like, I like to let it go because it's a tough thing that my family was in the water. I lost a bunch of people, so it just was a tough thing for me to play that song in that setting after the storm.
Well, what a fascinating program. At the end there, a poignant recollection from Troy trombone Shorty Andrews, bringing to an end our Sunday feature today, What a Wonderful World, and some fascinating insights and, well, yes, rolling back the years to hear what life was like in the 60s. This was, as you realise, another program in our occasional BBC series Soul Music, and it was produced and presented by Sarah Conkey.